Alrighty, we are going to gather some 100% cotton fabric. That is just plain woven weight quilting fabric. This is super breathable. 100% cotton means it's going to be washable and breathable. We are going to gather a 6-inch by 10-inch piece. If you have pretty patterns, make sure that the patterns are up and down in the short direction. So you're going to gather 6 by 10, 5.5 by 10, 2.5 by 10. We need some double fold bias tape in 1/2 inch wide, and this is what double fold bias tape looks like. We're going to use this as a binder. You can make your own, you can buy it. I will put a link down below for a website that teaches you how to make your own out of your own fabric. We need a piece that is 30 inches long and another one that is 42 inches long. And you need some plastic coated twist ties. These are going to go on the bridge of the nose. And we want plastic, not paper, so that they are washable and sterilizable. You are going to take your 5.5 inch and your 2.5 inch, and you are going to turn them under 1/2 inch and press. You're going to do that to both of them, and then you're going to stitch. So 2.5 inch turned under, 5.5 inch turned under 1/2 inch. Bum, 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 bum. And then we are going to stitch, just like that. And this is going to create our pocket. So I've got both pieces here. And then we are going to stitch those together to make a pocket. You're going to take the 5.5 inch and put it over top like this, the 2.5 inch, and then we're going to stitch it. You want this to be total 6 inches. So you're going to take your 6-inch piece and just lay it over the top and make sure that they are equal. This is the outer layer, this is the inner layer. So I'm going to show you how to stitch that to make your pocket. Alright, so here we have a piece. We are going to stitch the edge of this 5.5 plus 2.5, and then you're going to come in about 2 inches on each side and stitch there. Clear through the overlap. You're going to go back and forth at the top and bottom. That's called a lock stitch, and that'll keep it together through the wash. So back and forth. This creates the pocket that we're going to use to put the filter inside the mask. So very important. So there's that piece. Now you have your inner lining and your outer lining, and we are going to pleat them. There is a guide on the pattern for the pleating. This is the pocket. I used 2 different pieces of fabric so you could see the pleats more easily. This is our outer lining. Now, when you do these pleats, you can see here, this is okay. It doesn't have to be perfect. See, on this side it was all nice and even. On this side, not so much. It's okay. As long as they are the same width, once they're pleated, front and back, you can be off by a little bit. It's okay. So, you can see here, the pleats, I just went ahead and pleated over top that pocket. It's going to be okay. Make sure that when you put this together, the top, so where the nose goes, we want the pleats facing down. We don't want the pleats facing up, because then over here on the side there's going to be the potential for grossness to gather. We want them facing down. Now you're going to take these pieces, front and back, and you're going to fold it in half and iron the seam. Right like that. We're going to do the same thing to our front piece. Fold it in half and iron the seam. And the reason we're doing this is our face shaping. I'm going to grab a ruler, and if I can find a ruler, there's one. Grab a ruler and a pen. This is a very big ruler. And we're going to go roughly 3/4 of an inch in. There's 3/4 of an inch. And 3/4 of an inch in on both sides. And draw a line. Can you see that? There we go. You're going to stitch on that line. This is, remember, this is the bottom, so our pleats are facing down. We folded it in half. This is the bottom. We're going to do the same thing to the bottom of this pocket. 3/4 of an inch. 3/4 of an inch. And draw a line. We're going to stitch right along those lines. And then I will be right back once they're stitched. Alrighty, we have stitched the bottoms, and now I'm just going to take a pair of pinking shears, and we're just going to snip. And we're going to snip. And that's our shaping for the face. Isn't that nice? And we're going to just fit those together and stitch. Right sides together, just like that. Bum, bum, bum. And now we're going to give this a 1/2 inch seam allowance, or thereabouts, on both sides. Alright, so now we have stitched a 1/2 inch on both edges. We're going to turn this inside out. Right sides out, and we're going to iron out those edges, those seams. Iron them nice and flat. If you so choose, you can use binding here. I don't, because my machine doesn't like to go through that many layers. And just iron that right out. If you want to go back over that with a top stitch, you can. It is not necessary. So, then we're going to fit it all together. Go ahead and pop it out a little bit. We are now going to take this double edge, the double fold bias tape, find the ends, find the center. This is how I find the center. Just like this. We're going to iron that. No marking required. Check it out. So take your 30-inch piece, start at the bottom, and what I like to do is I like to stitch from the center all the way out, and then I'll come back and stitch from the center all the way out, and I'll show you here. I wonder if you can watch me sew. Ho ho, look at that! You can watch me sew. Alright, so we're going to take, if you need to pin it, feel free to pin it. Personally, I tend to stitch through pins, so I don't use them very much. So you're just going to get that nice and even, fit it down right like that, and we're going to start right there at that center point with our stitching. You might need to use a pin to keep it close. And you're going to go back and forth. That's a locking stitch. We're going to fit this all the way out. Fit, fit, fit. Make sure it's all nice and even. And just go to town. And what I like to do here at the edge of the bias tape is just open it up, fold it in a little bit, fold it back down. I'll show you again on the other side, like that. It doesn't have to be exact, again, it's just fabric. Alright, this is my thread catcher, not part of the pattern, so that's it. If you stitch back and forth at the end, you don't have to worry about those stitches coming loose. We're going to come back back to the center, and here, let's get that thread catcher out of the way so you can see what I'm doing. There we go. We are going to match everything up, fold that double bias tape over, just like that. Come back to your center. You're going to use another locking stitch. Back and forth and back and forth. Ooh. And that got a little too close to the edge, so we're going to do that again. Alright, and we're going to open this up just a little bit, fold it, fold it. That just keeps those edges from fraying if they're nicely stitched in. Back and forth, and that strap is done. Bum, 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 bum. Ooh. Yay! Much rejoicing. Alrighty, now the tricky part. Ha ha ha. Yes, yes, this has all been the easy part. I'm just going to clip all of my excess threads so they don't get in anybody's way. Clipping the threads. Now, we're going to come to the top. Here, let me get some better lighting for you. We're going to come over here to the top. And we are, again, going to grab our 42-inch piece of double fold bias tape. We're going to find the center. We're going to iron, because that makes it easy. And now, same thing, you should have, you can see right here, there's my little crease for the center. If your little crease has gone away, you can always make another one. Just fold the whole thing up. Makes a nice little crease so you know exactly where the center is. Now, the fun part. We're going to take our twist ties. If you've got the super flimsy lightweight ones like I do, you're going to need 2 of them. If you've got some heavier duty wire, you will only need 1. And what we're going to do here is we're going to take the wire. I'm going to find the center. Don't push too hard because then you'll put a crease in it. I'm going to find the center here, and I'm just going to pop that puppy in there. Just like that. Right? Now, match it up like that. And for this one, I start at one edge, so I'll show you. I hope you're not getting dizzy watching me sew. Kind of makes me a little dizzy watching this video. All right, there we go. It's all nicely matched up. Again, if you need pins, please use pins. If you're like me and you tend to break pins because you sew through them, don't. We don't want anybody to poke an eye out. So we're going to start right at the edge. Back and forth and back and forth. And I'm just evening the whole thing out. There we go. Alright, make sure you keep adjusting to make sure that the inside of the seam is up at the top of your bias tape. And we're going to stitch this whole thing. Whee! Holding it in so that our edges don't fray. All right. I'm going to catch my threads. Now, we're going to come back to the center. Find the edge of your wire. you're going to stitch on either side of the wire so that it doesn't go anywhere in this mask. Back and forth and back and forth, locking stitches. We're going to go to the other edge. I can feel it right there. Close enough is close enough. It doesn't have to be exact, but you do want to do a locking stitch on those so that it doesn't fray in the wash. And a locking stitch is just a forward and backward, forward and backward. It doesn't have to be anything fancy. You don't have to have a setting on your machine. All right, there we go. There's that. And then I'm going to stitch the last little bit, and then we're done. Let's get rid of my thread catcher. There we go. We're going to stitch this last little bit back and forth and back and forth. Whee! And fold it under. Fold it in half. There we go. And that is your mask. Yay! Clip all of your loose threads if you have any. Clip all of your loose threads. There we go. Here's the top. Here's the bottom with the chin gusset. Here's the inside. There's your pocket. Right there. Now, to cut the piece, I've given you a pattern. Here, we're going to come over here so you can see it. There is a pattern for the shape. If it's this happens to be a vacuum cleaner bag, your healthcare professional will tell you what exactly they want you to use for these. But these are the disposable filters, and they go right inside the mask, just like that. There you go, ready for somebody to wear. Here's hoping and praying that this keeps our healthcare professionals safe.